new and a bit different to the one we organized in January, because the situation has changed and because we can share with you much more information than we could share with you in January. The webinar will focus on what public authorities can do to meet the current very difficult crisis and challenges linked to energy and climate targets, and the current situation that tightened the targets even more. We want to focus on explaining how we, our consortium, which I can introduce in a bit, how we can help public authorities learn more about how to reduce dependence on subsidies where public money is limited because of the scale of the challenge. And I'm also very happy that we have with us a representative of DG Energy, Pierluca Merola, who will be able to update us on what's going on the policy front, so we know exactly what to expect, and public authorities, local and regional authorities know what's happening and what they should prepare themselves to. And later I will tell you a bit about our project and how we can help you meet those challenges. And you will be also able this time to meet our mentors, the institutions, the cities who are willing to share their experience with you, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you can copy and replicate the projects that have already been tested or implemented and have proven results, or have some very interesting feedback that they can share with you. And we will also tell you about how to join the project, because today we have officially opened the second recruitment, the second time we are collecting applications from mentees for this project. So once again, welcome on behalf of our consortium, welcome on behalf of Prospect Plus, and I would now like to pass on the floor to Pierluca, who will introduce the topic and set the scene, so it's also easier for us to understand why we are here today. And on the practicalities, just to mention that the webinar is being recorded, so you can rewatch it and share it with your colleagues. It will be available on the website, and we will send all the information, including the link to the recording and all the documents and materials, directly to everyone who is registered, but it also will be available on the website. And in case you have any immediate questions, my colleague Pauline is here to help. She's looking at the chat constantly, and she will be answering your questions if they can be answered quickly. And if not, she will let us know, and either we will jump in immediately, or we will collect your questions and then have a proper Q&A session towards the end. A kind request that everyone who has not muted their microphones yet could mute their microphones, so we can only hear the speakers. And let's start. Let's start with DG Grow and setting the scene for today.
Was unmuting myself. Thank you very much, Sylvia, and good morning. Good morning, everybody. I hope you can see the presentation. Let me know if it is not the case. I'm Pierluca Merola. I'm a policy officer at DG Ener in the energy efficiency unit. I'm a part of the energy efficiency finance team, where we follow, let's say, different aspects quite very well interrelated with the subject of this webinar, namely the mobilization of financing to achieve the sustainable energy target, the energy efficiency and renewable targets, but also the EU programs for energy efficiency. And I have to say that I'm very happy and thankful for this invitation, because I think that, I mean, the topic of your webinar, and basically how to achieve our energy and climate objective with limited subsidies, and how we can use the public budget in the most cost-efficient way to mobilize the necessary investments. is at the center of our ambition and of our objective, not only with regard to the Green Deal, but also following the aggression of Russia to Ukraine, with regard to the REPowerEU plan, which is namely the plan for Europe to end its dependence on Russian energy import. So in this presentation, I will go quickly through these two main, let's say, European policy priority, basically the Fit for 55 legislative revision and the European Green Deal and REPowerEU, and I will in the end focus a bit more on financing. Okay, I will start from the legislative revisions. I mean, this is not new, I think, to you, as the different legislative revision of the related to energy. So the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Renewable Energy Directive, and the Energy Performance of Building Directive have been tabled. The first two in July 2021, while the APBD in December 2021, and are now in the interinstitutional negotiations. We have already, for the first two, basically the approach, the one from the Council and from the Parliament, who will be voted next week at the plenary in Strasbourg, while for the APBD we are still at the first reading and the position of the co-legislator is being determined. So I will not repeat the climate target plan, but I have to mention that what underpinned the legislative revision for the ED and the RED and the PBD is the climate target plan. So the European climate law. So the updating of the target to reduce at least 55% of the greenhouse gas emission by 2030. And that then was enshrined in the EU legislative framework with the European climate law, to which the member state, the European Parliament, the Council, they pledged to achieve this minus 55% climate target. In order to achieve this minus 55% climate target, there is in the different sector the need to stimulate actions, to stimulate investment, to increase obligation. As you can see from the graph on the right of the screen, there is clearly a need for increase the action in the residential sector and in the service sector. So this is speaking clearly to buildings, is speaking clearly to heating, is speaking clearly to action that have to be taken at local level, in particular. So the Fit for 55 is a comprehensive package of legislative revision. For what to concern us, we focus, of course, here in the directives related to energy, but it's important to have in mind, I mean, that there is also the general climate aspect related to the extension of the ETS, or also the directive more linked to the environmental law, as the LULUCF, for example. With regard to the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Commission has proposed to increase the energy efficiency target toward 2030, to bring it and to align it to the reference scenario of 2020. So the increase, if we remain to the all the let's say reference scenario, so the reference scenario to 27 would be an increase from the 32.5% to the 36-39%. We decided that it was important to change the reference scenario to 2020 because it will also make it more understandable in communicative way. And the increase compared to 2020 is of 9% in terms of reduction of primary and final energy consumptions. So that is also to citizens, to stakeholders, more understandable of what we're speaking when comparing to today. There is a number of legislative innovation, an increase in ambition. One, maybe the most important one, is the one related to the national energy saving obligation, that the annual energy consumption reduction is increased to 1.5%, and where it's excluded the saving that are still included that are coming from the direct fossil fuel combustion. This to trigger a more firm transition toward clean energy solutions. The definition, also in line with the same approach, the definition of energy efficiency, district heating and cooling has been updated to promote further renewable energy sources, and also of relevance probably for you today, we have introduced provisions to encourage municipalities to develop local heating and cooling plans for the clean energy transition of their heating and cooling supply. Also the exemplary role of the public sector have been increased, as well as the introduction, the reinforcement of the energy efficiency first principle and measure to alleviate energy poverty and to reinforce the provision of financing for energy efficiency. The other key directive that I said, like the ED and the RED, they will now enter the trialogue phase, which is the phase, the key phase of the interinstitutional negotiation between the Council and the Parliament, with the Commission playing, let's say, the role of the arbiter or the moderator between the two. The RED has sensibly increased the ambition in terms of share of renewable energy from 32%, which was the whole target for 2030, to 40%, and also have detailed the ambition also in key sector. For example, in heating and cooling, there is an expectation for an annual increase of 1.1% annually of the share, and also some indicative ambition for transport, industry, buildings, and other sector. What is also key is that there is a renewed attention also to small-scale local renewable solution deployment. These, for example, in building, but not only, also with regard to energy communities and to a more local action in general. Finally, which is also important because it has some important impact, the bioenergy criteria has been reinforced to align stronger to the biodiversity strategy. The energy performance of building directive instead, which focused on building, as you know, as introduced, the proposed from the Commission, the Commission proposed to introduce a number also of novelty. The two main one are probably the introduction of minimum energy performance standards, which will be the obligations now proposed for all type of buildings, so for tertiary building, for public buildings, and for residential buildings, to renovate up to a minimum energy performance class. The Commission has proposed some date for this introduction. Now the discussion is within the Council and the Parliament, and the co-legislators are discussing on the introduction of this obligation. The other main, probably one of the other main novelty is the revision of the framework for the energy performance certificates. As you know, now each member state has its own classification with limited number of limited possibility for comparison across the European Union. Now, what is proposed is to introduce a common methodology to develop the EPC, where the classes are identified from based on the worst and best of the building stock, and then so from A to maximum G. And where also this is also needed, we have seen when we speak about financing, this is also needed to increase the possibility for investor to compare their investment across, to have a single, to increase economy of scale, broadly speaking, to have a single reference framework to ascertain the performance of building assets. Finally, there is also the introduction of a new gold standard definition. As you know, we move from the nearly zero energy building to a definition that move to zero emission buildings, so that where also the role of renewables on buildings is somehow better highlighted and recognized. There is also a number of additional new tools, from like the renovation passport, and a definition for deep renovation standard, and also the request to member states to set up an APC database, the obligation for member states to set up an APC database. and a number of additional topics, but I should not go too much into detail. I want now to pass to 𝐏𝐿. So 𝐏𝐿 is the plan that the Commission put forward and endorsed by the Council by the Council of the European Union in May to end the dependence of the European Union on the import from the Russian Federation. The objective is to end this dependence by 2027, to accelerate, in particular, quite fastly in the next 2 years. The plan is based on, let's say, 3 key pillars. 2 of them are strongly related to the clean energy transition. So to accelerate the clean energy transition and renewable deployment and substitution, basically, of the fossil fuels with more clean energy sources, so aligned with the Fit for 55 and the European Green Deal. The other key pillar, which is energy efficiency and reduce energy demand. This let's say, reducing energy efficiency find itself at the junction between like the clean energy transition ambition and the energy security key point of this plan, which is also key because by reducing, of course, the demand, we reduce the need for imports, so we increase security, we facilitate the deployment of renewable solution, for example, in buildings, but also we ensure that we reduce the demand overall, possibly also intervening on the pressure on the energy market, and that determine the price that we are seeing in the last months. The plan is quite detailed, detailing where the new source to substitute Russian gas will come from. As we said, there is also the part related to diversification of natural gas supplies that focus very much on LNG and on additional supplier. As part of the plan, there is the Commission has proposed, also if I already proposed the targets in the ED and the Renewable Directive to increase that target. The renewable energy, we have proposed to increase it from 40 to 45% by 2030, and the energy efficiency directive from 9% to 13%. As said, the legislative part of the 𝐏𝐿 plan, so the legislative proposal, are related are 3 in total. 2 of them, as said, are related to the target, with also, when we speak about renewables, the introduction of a proposal to identify go-to areas for renewable deployment and overriding the identification of renewable as an overriding public interest. This is to reduce the permitting time for renewable energy investment. Then there is a 3rd legislative proposal that is instead related to the PPD and is a mandatory obligation for the deployment of solar energy in buildings, starting from public and commercial buildings. When we speak about 𝐏𝐿, there is also a strong focus with the communication that came up also as part of the package of the Save Energy communication on behavioral measure and behavioral changes when it comes to household and in general consumer energy consumptions. Next to that, there is also a strong focus on heat pumps. The majority of the natural gas is used for heating purpose, so there is also a need to switch on the fuel switch for heating in household. And finally, there is a very important aspect that is being developed. In this case, this is more related to lead by our colleague in DG GROW, but on the industrial alliance, because there is both a need to ensure that the solutions are on the market, but also to develop the right skills. So there is the attempt also to work more closely with the industry. And of course, I forgot to mention the solar rooftop initiative, which is another part of the package. I wanted to focus a bit more on the energy saving, on the Save Energy communication, because this lists a number of solutions that, as said, both related to short-term energy saving based mostly not mostly, but mainly on behavioral changes and the changes that we can do at home. For example, reducing thermostat to lowering thermostat, but also related to, let's say, more easy small investments. And then there is also the part related to the structural energy efficiency measure to being accelerated and strengthened. Here I wanted to mention in particular that the Commission in this case, and we are working on that, has put forward the possibility, some of you may know 𝐼FIG, the Energy Efficiency Financial Institution Group, to build on the work done by 𝐼FIG so far to launch a coalition with financial institutions to increase the financial institution commitment to finance energy efficiency at higher level. I will not dig into the financing part of REPowerEU, but you will have access to the slide. This is just to say that when we speak, I mean, as we speak in our webinar here of the investment needs, there is annexes to REPowerEU and staff working document which highlight the investment need for REPowerEU to achieve the REPowerEU ambition on top of what we have already identified in the climate target plan. And here we are speaking about 210 billion. And of these 210 billion of additional investment need, 56 billion are related to energy efficiency, mainly addressed to heat pump and building, but also district heating, for example. And the plan highlight financing support from the EU side, and also the legislative revision, for example, that have taken place to allow member states to voluntarily make transfer to the REPowerEU chapter of the recovery and resilience plans. This I will close the REPowerEU part with, if we want maybe an aspect less related to the clean energy transition, but that probably need to be known and taken into account overall. As you know, during the summer, the situation have worsened with regard to supply from Russia. All in all, I think now is even more than 12 member states have suffered full or partial supply disruption. In July, in the end of July, the Commission have put forward a new proposal for a Council decision, Council regulation. These have been approved in early August. The proposal is the proposal for a European gas demand reduction plan, where it's basically is an emergency plan where the coordination between member states is increased, and where the member states are asked to develop a national demand reduction plan that will be able to reduce their gas demand by 50% from August to March for this winter. In this case, there is, of course, an important link to energy efficiency, as you can imagine, and to both behavioral, but also easy to implement and measure, structural measure. The expected next step, we are following the press, there will be in the next days, weeks, intervention from the Commission side on the electricity market design to contain the current high prices. If I will pass now to the, let's say, the financing aspect that I wanted to underline, that are basically, I think, the most probably the most relevant for then the next intervention as part of the webinar. So when we speak about investment, we have highlighted the increase in ambition toward 2030, with on top of that the current situation that developed with Russia, with the supply, the energy import from Russia, and the REPowerEU plan. When we speak about investment need overall, taking all of that into account, for energy efficiency in particular, we're speaking about 1,150 billion by 27, or 27, which when is the end of the current multi-annual financial framework, or 1,400 billion by 2030. When we look at that compared to the available. We have looked at that compared to the available EU budget resources for this spending, and also with a look at national budget, whereas public budget alone will cover around 50 to 20% of these investment needs. This is clear that this 50 to 10% have to be used on a cost-efficient way to mobilize additional financing and to make use of innovative financing and financial instrument to achieve the total volume of investment that are needed. There is important program at the EU level. Probably the main, the most relevant in terms of direct investment are the Recovery and Resilience Facility, but also the Cohesion Policy Fund. But there is also important program that help local and regional authorities to develop their investment projects, such as the Hellene Facility, but also the project development assistance under the Life Clean Energy Transition Program. That is, as you know, that has inherited the Horizon 2020 calls for coordination and support actions. With this, I mean, I wanted to underline the volume of challenge and of investment needed. I will leave you with the landscape of the different programs at EU level that I mean are relevant for this purpose. Also, we didn't mention, but we have the InvestEU public guarantee to support that is managed by the EIB mainly, but also by other partners to support investment, and also the program related to the ETS that come from the ETS revenues. I wanted just to stop a little bit on, as I said, on the need to use the public fund to catalyze private investment. This can be done on multiple ways by combining grants and financial instrument and technical assistance. We know that this is challenging, but it's definitely a way forward, but also by developing more financial instrument and innovative financing scheme on tax and on bills scheme, which are new and need to be scaled up, but also continue with the forward with energy performance contracting, and with other possible new initiative. We have noticed that project development assistance is key in supporting the development of project. Often there is not the capacity on the ground to support, let's say, bankable project. But once this is provided, it becomes easier to intercept capital investment. And finally, there is also the need to stop to go forward in the work with financial institutions, both from the development of dedicated lending product for sustainable energy, but also to strengthen the cooperation overall. I wanted now to stop just to pass some information, to do a bit of I don't know, product placement or advertising of specifically for the Life Clean Energy Transition, because I know that many of you can have ideas both related to project development, but also to innovative instrument to step up financing on how to mobilize the whole stakeholder that work like you on clean energy and climate project on the ground. So I wanted to just mention that, as you know, with the new multi-annual framework, we have launched the Life Clean Energy Transition, which is the new sub-program dedicated to clean energy policy implementation. And the current call, the call for 2022, are open till the 16th of November. So they are open now. There is still more than 2 months to prepare a proposal or to finalize a proposal. And there is in total 18 topics. And the co-financing rate are quite important, up to 95%. And there is also a good envelope in the total term, almost close to 100 million. I will not go into detail of the different topics, but there is many of them that are addressed both to support financing project development and innovative financing, but also specifically addressed to local and regional agencies and local and regional authorities. I leave you some information in the slide in any case that you will receive after the webinar from the organization. And I will stop here, and I know that we will have a Q&A session in the end, but if there is some burning question, I can also reply briefly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this, and underlining how huge the scale of the challenge really is. And we do have just a short minute for immediate follow-up questions, if you have any immediate questions for Pierluca. And if not, he will probably join us at the end of the Q&A session. Any questions? Nothing so far? I just wanted to ask you one question following what you said. We see that a lot needs to be done in a short time. It's becoming more and more ambitious. Do you think it is realistic for local and regional authorities to wait for appropriate subsidies, to wait that maybe next year there would be some calls that they could use? Or do you see that there is no time to wait, and if there are some projects in the pipeline or some targets that they need to reach, they really should speed up and look for financing wherever it's available?
I think that there is not too much time to wait overall. That also, I mean, it's important indeed. I mean, we need to recognize that some kind of public support is definitely welcome, the form of guarantee, and this is helpful. But it's important also to be ready to have a project ready to be financed also on the private market, and to build those capacity that lead to the possibility to have to intercept also private financing. So yes, I mean, the short answer would be that there is no time to wait, and that there is the need on focusing also on developing the necessary capacity. And I think is what we are also doing today. So
yes,
yeah.
Thank you very much. So it's a very strong recommendation and motivation for our participants and also their partners to get involved in using innovative financing solutions. And now I will tell you a little bit about how we can help you, how you can either share your experience or learn from those who have experience and begin your journey with those other non-subsidies instruments. Let me share my screen. And I will try to catch up a little bit, because it would be great that we have enough time to discuss the application process and also to have time for Q&A. But I think I should be able to do that.
We can see your screen now, Silvia.
Perfect. Okay, so this short introduction from my side. As a reminder, my name is Sylwia Słomiak. I work for EuroCities, which is just one of the partners in the consortium behind implementing project Prospect Plus, which is a continuation of a successful and very interesting first edition, which led us to deciding to continuing it, and �2𝐤𝐄𝐿 𝐿 kindly agreed to help public authorities to do that. Like I mentioned, EuroCities is one of the partners. We have, as you can see here, quite many very experienced organizations that are in charge of various aspects of this project. I will explain what the project is about in a second. So we have knowledge hubs. IECP is leading the project as a project coordinator, but we also have others who are supporting the whole process. Adelphi has developed very interesting tools that will help you learn about the innovative financing instruments. I will mention where to find them, because they are already available on our website, and you can use them regardless of whether you decide to join us as a fledged mentee and full participant as a mentor or mentee. We also have 3 city networks. So Eurocities is a city network, but we also have Energy Cities, which is a very large and well-known city network as well. And Blandine will later on tell us about the application process and how we match the interested mentors and mentees. And we also have Federen with us here in charge of making sure that we know what's going on. Diana is here as well. So if you have any additional questions that you could ask in the chat, she, I'm sure, will be able to support Pauline as well. And we also have our internal mentors this time. This is also a change from last edition. We have on board 5 very experienced organizations that will share their experience with various innovative financing schemes, financing options, and some of them you will be able to meet a little bit later, and they can tell you briefly about their projects, pitch their projects a little bit, tell you about their experience, and you can see the faces behind the logos. So what is Prospect? Like I mentioned, it's the 2nd edition of a project that we have already completed and evaluated. And it allowed us to reach around 150 public authorities, local or regional authorities, including their agencies, such as municipal energy agencies. They worked within 45 groups, sharing experience, meeting in person during study visits, and these are just a quick mention of the results that the project managed to achieve. This time we are even more ambitious. We want to support at least 200 local and regional authorities across Europe who would work together as mentors and mentees. But we also want to allow at least 100 more to learn from us on a more informal basis through joining a community of practice, which I will also briefly introduce later on. So in case you would not be eligible, or for whatever reason you would not be able to join us as a mentor or a mentee, you can still benefit from the exchanges and the knowledge and the materials and tools we develop. And we really encourage you to join regardless of whether you are a representative of a public authority, public institution, or whether you are, for example, a sectoral expert and you would like to benefit from the feedback we receive from our participants. So what do we focus on when we are promoting innovative financing options? Innovative financing options, this is a phrase we use for other than subsidies, usually instruments. They can be combined with grants, they can be combined with subsidies, like Pierluca mentioned, but most of all, we would like to teach you how to get a little less dependent on subsidies, to wait for calls, especially if you don't know if there will be relevant calls, but really focusing on implementing your energy and climate plans and doing it as soon as possible so that you can reach all the ambitious targets. So we cover projects very broadly within the sustainable energy sphere, a sustainable energy sector, and those projects can cover public investments in public buildings, private buildings, transport, mobility, both public transport but also private transport. For example, if you are thinking about preparing there is a little pause. If you are thinking about preparing an infrastructure for the residents to be able to charge their electric vehicles, then this is also included. And we also have interconnected projects that cover a few of those areas. So we would be very interested to hear from you which are those projects that are very high on your agenda at the moment. Either you have the highest levels of targets for those, or you know that it is most challenging to find financing to implement investments in those sectors, in those projects. Can you spare one minute and give us an overview of what is your priority? It might be a few. So public buildings are winning, although from some experience we have already seen public buildings are relatively easier to address rather than, for example, private buildings where your leverage is lower. Right, so this shows us that you are basically here to learn about all of those initiatives within all of these thematic areas, which is great because this is what we want to offer you. So we want to support, like I mentioned, 300 public authorities, including those who would participate in our mentoring program, and 100 that could join the community of practice. And that means that actually we want to reach 500 individuals working for public authorities. So quite ambitious, and we hope that we will be able to do that through making sure there are 64 groups that work together over 4 years. Just a quick question. Can you hear me well? Because I see that my...
Yes, we can
Pauline?
hear you well, Sylvia. Yes.
Great, because I thought my computer might be playing up a bit. What would you do if you join us? There are online meetings to introduce mentors and mentees, but most of all, we want you to have the opportunity to meet live, to meet in person somewhere across Europe in the mentor city, so you can see the project, you can talk to final beneficiaries, for example, you can talk to the staff who worked on implementing the project, you can talk to contractors and project partners and really get a very detailed overview of how the project was prepared and implemented, what went well, what maybe were the lessons learned that the mentor can share with you. So it's easier for you when you replicate this project. Either you copy the whole concept, or you can cherry pick some aspects that are most useful for you. So these are some pictures from the meetings and the study visits we have organized so far. And this is what you can expect in terms of the practicalities. So first, if you join, we organize a webinar to introduce you to the scope of the program, to the scope of the learning. And then there is a online session where you meet each other, you learn about the mentor's experience and what the mentor can offer you to make sure that you know what you will be learning about and that the mentor can, as far as they are able to fit your expectations and address your expectations and needs. There are 2 such online meetings, and then we choose the date of a study visit. The whole process lasts around 4 months, up to 4 months, but it's very much dynamic. It's very much suited to the needs of the participants. So together in your group, you can decide whether you want to close the cooperation quicker or whether you want to spread it out over a longer period of time. So this is not cut in stone. This is something where we are flexible and you can agree with that with your colleagues in the groups. Then we have a moving forward meeting to analyze what was discussed, what we have learned, also what the mentors learned from the mentees, and how we could further use this learning and your feedback to pass this on to decision makers to share it with those who do not participate in the project. And at the end, if you are already working on some project, if your project is in a fairly advanced stage of planning, you also have an opportunity to apply to join 2 master classes, which will be organized in Brussels, and we will invite you to learn more, even more in depth, how you can use this opportunity. So you would learn from your facilitators. Each of this group is either facilitated, coordinated by our internal mentors who we have on our consortium, or there is a facilitator from the consortium who coordinates the work. So you are always supported. The facilitators make sure that you get the experience you submitted in your application when you told us that you would like to join. The facilitator makes sure that the whole process is quite smooth. We have foreseen 4 learning cycles. Now we are about to start the second learning cycle, and this is why we are collecting applications from mentees. We have just closed the first cycle, which already gave us quite a lot of feedback and interesting experience with the first groups who participated. But there will also be 2 more starting next year in probably in late summer, and then also in 2024. So you would have 3 more opportunities to join. However, we do encourage you to join as soon as possible. In terms of the methodology used to facilitate this learning experience, it can be either done through study visits where you participate together with a few other mentees. So you form a small group and you can also exchange on this level of mentees and comparing where you have knowledge gaps and where you would like to get more information as well from those who are at the initial stage of preparing a project. If your project is more advanced, you can also participate in peer mentoring, and we also have foreseen some local groups, local mentoring, which Blandine, my colleague, I can see her face now, will tell you a little bit more towards the end of our meeting. Since January, we have prepared quite a lot of useful materials and resources you can use whether you join us formally or not. A lot of materials where we describe interesting projects that have used those various innovative financing instruments, and you can get in touch with them. There are links and contact details in the information sheet. You can read about it. You can then you can research it a little bit more. So if you click on this link in the bottom here, it will take you to a subpage where there is you will find 5 categories of the good practices, replicable practices we have collected. Once you click on them, you will get a few of those booklets so that you can learn a little bit more about that. And before I start talking about innovative financing instruments, I want to go back to what I mentioned earlier, the community of practice. We also want to keep you engaged, even if you already finish working with your groups, but also if you, for whatever reason, do not join as mentors or mentees. We will organize closed online meetings for participants of the community of practice. We will also organize large webinars on replication, so sharing the most interesting and promising projects we have discussed throughout the whole, all of the groups that we will be working with. There will be also policy-oriented webinars where we will be very happy to share your feedback, the challenges and the opportunities you indicate to us. We will be very happy to share them with decision makers, EU institutions such as DG Energy, and others who need the feedback from cities in order to be able to really adjust the way the support is being foreseen so it allows to meet the very ambitious targets. And here I do encourage you to register. The registration is quite quick. It's not an application process. You just need to register, showing us, indicating your main interest and also your experience so we can fit you in the right groups. And I encourage you to join, even if you're a small local authority and you feel like there are so many challenges and barriers you are facing and you just cannot get independent or less dependent on subsidies, and no one is listening to you, and you are just facing so many policy and regulatory or legal problems. Do join us, because there will be 200 of our participants, and that's why you will have some leverage. We want to give you the voice, especially through the large international city networks that we have in our consortium. And we will be bringing together those institutions who can really benefit from knowing what the problems on the ground are, and hopefully also making sure that there is relevant support. So you can join in a few ways. You can join as an observer, which wouldn't require you to do much apart from just benefiting from hearing the experience of others. You can join as an expert, so a kind of mentor if you also have experience that you would like to share, and we can match you with the interest within the community of practice we create. And also you can be an active member. That's mostly for public authorities, so you can participate in those closed meetings, smaller group meetings, where you can exchange your experiences, whether you do have experience with innovative financing instruments or not, but you want to discuss the barriers and differences between the local context across Europe, which also is something that is important to be taken into account. So if you would like to join, once you receive the presentation from us, just click here and it will take you to the registration page. And I do encourage you to register as soon as possible, because we want the events to start early in the autumn already, although it's almost autumn already. And now quickly about the innovative financing instrument for public authorities, which we cover. In case the topic is very new to you, I just want to talk you through those options that we want to cover under the project. So we want to discuss citizen finance, and that could mean, for example, crowdfunding, when it is the final beneficiaries, residents, who can chip in for some projects. For example, for a photovoltaic installation, everyone pays a bit and then they can benefit from it. Those also mean energy communities and cooperatives. Of course, there are some differences across member states, so it's very interesting to compare it. Also important to understand the differences and understanding a little bit what the situation is in your country. We will be covering energy performance contracting as well. We already cover energy performance contracting, in short EPC, which some of you might know as 𝐿𝐴 projects, working with an 𝐿𝐴, so working with an energy saving company. The benefit of it is that the public authority does not need to mobilize their own budget, does not need to find subsidies. You don't need any capital upfront. You need to find a private partner who will bring the money, and not only will they bring the money, they will guarantee the results, and you will pay only if the results are achieved. And then we also talk about internal contracting, green bonds, guarantee funds, and soft loans. So those are a pool of money you can assign to projects related to energy and climate action, as well as revolving funds and third-party financing. So, for example, cooperation with investment banks and taking loans from banks. A quick question, which you already can see on the screen: which of these sound most promising? Which of these have you been already considering for your future projects? Or if it's not something that you've been thinking very seriously about yet, are there any of these that you are really interested in pursuing? And you probably remember from DG Energy's presentation that there will be more focus on supporting development of EPC contracting, the use of EPC, and working with 𝐿𝐴. So that's definitely something that is worth looking into as soon as possible, and looking at the benefits, but also not only benefits, but the practicalities of how to make sure that the private partner really delivers the results, that you as a public authority are able to verify that the results have been delivered, and that you really pay only for the results. This is important because in this way, not only you don't have to look for the capital. You don't need to look for money to start the project. You don't have to worry about the tendering procedures. You don't have to worry about guarantees on the equipment that for whatever reason wouldn't work. You have a private partner responsible for that. And this means that you are actually protecting public money better. So even though sometimes the conditions might seem not as attractive as subsidies, but on the other hand, you are really transferring risks, both financial and technical, onto a private partner. That's why it's very important to ensure the preparatory stage, preparing the contracts, negotiating the contracts is done very carefully, and you have the means to verify that this will really protect your organization. As we don't have much time to discuss this further today, I do invite you to have a look at excellent materials that Adelphi has already prepared, and they are already available on the website. The links are here. You will find them on our website. Those are handbooks, quite long brochures, handbooks on how to use the various instruments within the different topics we cover. So public buildings, private buildings, transport, public lighting, cross-sectoral projects, and citizen finance, how to choose which one would be the most interesting and optimal for a given project, and then what to pay attention to, how to prepare to this. This is just a screenshot of a few pages of those handbooks to give you an idea of what information you get, information about the pros and cons, the advantages, disadvantages of a given instrument in a given context, how to choose one, and what it really is. I do invite you to have a look at it. And for those of you who will apply to join as mentees, I do strongly encourage you to have a look before you choose the topic you would like to learn about, so that you make sure that, for example, it's also suitable for projects in your country. Here you have even more materials and tools you can use. Also already available on our website, you can use this template for calculating financial, for calculating financial indicators when you are preparing a project. It's quite complex, but user-friendly Excel sheet with a lot of instruction that you can download and use. And in case you have any problems with the financial terms used across our materials, there is a user-friendly as well a glossary. Here you have the link to it. So have a look, make sure you understand what these are, and that might also help you prepare the application and choose the right scheme. So now let's meet our mentors who will be working with the mentees in the second learning cycle. I can see that more and more faces are already there, and I can see more cameras turned on. Very happy to see all of you. The way we prepared this session is to have kind of pitches from our mentors who can explain very briefly their experience, the topic that they will be covering in this next learning cycle with an example of a project they have implemented. As discussed before, I will be grateful if you can be very brief. But at the same time, if we do have more time during Q&A, it would be great if we also can elaborate on this a little bit more. So meet our mentors for this new cycle. We have 7 excellent mentors, as you can see. Some of them are on our core team, and some of them are external, because each time for each learning cycle, we also invite external organizations, public authorities, energy agencies from across Europe who want to share their experience. So we have SEMO, we have Energy Lab, we have well, we actually don't have Inolid today from Valladolid, but they have excellent experience that you can learn from nevertheless. ESV is not, unfortunately, here with us, I think, although maybe they are. Also very experienced in working with ESCOs. And we also have new mentors just recently selected. We have the 𝐏𝐿𝐄𝐏, we have City of Albrectville, unfortunately not with us today, and the Regional Energy and Environment Agency, I cannot pronounce that, but I see that Rogério is here, so he will be able to mention as well how we can pronounce their organization. Shall we start with SEMO, with short information on what the mentees can expect, who you are, what was the aim and scope of the project that we'll be using as the main learning topic, what financing instrument did you choose, why did you choose that financing instrument for that particular investment, and what results did you achieve? Shall we start with SEMO?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Teresa. So I am from SEMO. SEMO is an abbreviation. It's Association of Local Energy Managers in the Czech Republic. And we have at the moment 24 members, both local and regional governments. And the project that I will be showing or mentoring on in Prospect Plus program is on revolving fund that was established in the city of 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐿. And the revolving fund, the idea when it came about was actually to have some additional money available to prepare good quality projects. So from all the projects that's been already implemented in sustainable energy and transport, the net savings were actually transferred to a fund, and they were used both to prepare project documentations and different, energy audits, but also to motivate staff. So you have a kind of twofold motivation aspect in it as well. And the results achieved in, I had a look what happened over 5 years. So the net savings were in the range between 30,000 to 50,000 euros annually. And if you want to know more, you can apply.
You have 1 minute
for the
1 minute more.
That's fine. I'm probably quicker than needed to be. So I'll donate. Some of my colleagues can use this time to present their projects.
And why? Just one question, just one quick follow-up. And why did you choose this financing instrument? What was the main reason that you chose this and not something else?
Well, we chose this one because it's an easy one. It's an instrument you can just set up internally. You don't need any kind of help from outside. It's only you discuss with your colleagues in the local or regional government. You tell them what your use case is. You show them what results you can achieve, what you're going to be doing with it. And then it's just a question of agreeing and then setting up the process. So that's very easy, and there's no external funding needed to do so.
Perfect. I guess that sounds convincing. If it's easy and no external funding is needed.
That's the easy part. The difficult one is actually to get agreement across.
There you go. There you go.
And that's all my colleagues will probably know that. You need to speak to your colleagues about it. So,
and that's why having this opportunity of having 4 meetings and then a full, or actually a day and a half in person together is so interesting and useful, because then you can go through all the challenges of preparing the project and discuss it and share your experience.
Indeed.
Perfect. Thank you very much. How about energy gap? Do we have?
Yes, I'm here.
I can see you. I can see you, Vlasta.
Very few slides, just a little bit with the picture. I will be easier and I will be talking. Can you allow me to share my screen?
We might not have enough time for that.
But really, it is really a really short one, just a picture. So I think it's, so I'm coming from Energy and Climate Agency in Maribor from Slovenia. We have a very nice, active and young team to work on also Prospect Plus to help other cities and regions to renovate buildings, to renovate indoor and public lighting. So we are experts in planning the projects and also in investments, because we always know that many of our customers, municipalities, cities, regions, they don't have or they don't find the money to renovate. So we always develop different financial mechanisms. And we are very proud of our really deep knowledge on energy performance contracting. And we already implemented more more than 10 really big projects. We are the most proud of the renovation of 24 public buildings in one package, and this was investments of 11 million euros, and the savings were more than €500 million per year. So, and because this system of savings is really important, then to invest these savings back into the investments. So this is why we really promote energy performance contracting. We are experienced in finding these savings together with the municipality, with the energy experts. So, and I think this is somehow hidden money, and we try to open it and find it together with the cities, municipalities. And when they see these savings, I think the most important is this, to put these savings back into the investments. And when you see this circle, we are then together proud with our customers that that really see how it works. And it works for already, I don't know, more than 10 years. There are many projects. And also this is what we offer to our mentees, that we share all this knowledge, not only technically on the energy, finding the savings and money, but also the process. You know, it's quite difficult sometimes to convince and try to find this money together with the customers. But when you see all these hidden points, then you are much more secure on the, also on the side of the public procurement and other public and private partnership processes, that you do the right things.
Great. And when you say showing and sharing and seeing the hidden points, that's exactly why it's useful to go through the booklets. It's useful to read about how to implement a project, but you can only learn about the practicalities and what to pay attention to, how to avoid any problems from people who have already done it, and they already know that in reality you can expect some things that maybe you will not read about in official papers.
Yes, sometimes there are many times when we come for the first time to some municipality and say, yeah, we will try to find some savings. They said, no, we don't have a savings. We tried everything. We looked at every point. And I said, so this is why we are experts for energy and monitoring and financing. And together with you, we will go step by step, and you will, by your own eyes, see where the savings are. But this is not only the issue of the finding. I think then also later on, it's good to know how to monitor this saving and how to find and have these savings on the long term. Yeah, it is also easy when you see, but it's really difficult when you don't have someone just to pick you on a specific topic. So this is why I really, we are very happy at the ENERGAP to share our knowledge to across the Europe and also within the Prospect Plus. I think we tried to collect all these points and hidden hints that you can really benefit a lot. You will see.
Thanks, Vlasta. So now you can see, I'm sure there will be a lot of mentees hoping to to get into your group, and also because of the energy you're sharing. How about the 𝐿𝐼 Energy Cooperative?
Yes, hello. My name is
Sanela,
and I'm a cooperative manager of 𝐿𝐼 Energy Cooperative in 𝐏𝐿𝐼𝐸, Croatia. So 𝐿𝐼 is an acronym of 𝐏𝐿𝐼 Laboratory of Innovation in Climate, a cooperative of citizens who are primarily committed to create the resilient future of our local community. So in short, we are helping the city and also the citizens on the energy transition mission. So the project that I will showcase you on the Prospect Plus is 𝐄𝐏𝐂 Solar Roof. It was implemented in 𝐿𝐼 with Green Energy Cooperative, where I also worked before. The aim of the project was to show that citizens can invest in public energy projects, but also they can have a return on investment, so that this kind of investment isn't just for the big guys. So the city is willing to include citizens, and citizens are willing to invest in public projects. We choose a crowd lending model for this. So citizens made loans to cooperative that invested in the power plant and is now repaying the loans to the citizens with interest, and cooperatives also renting the power plants to public library and entrepreneurship center, and the entrepreneurship center and public library are paying to the cooperative in the amount of energy savings. So we believe that such a model would generate the most trust among the stakeholders, and as a result, interest in investing, because we were afraid that citizens wouldn't be willing to invest in a cooperative. So this was they have a contract and everything is clear, so they are, I would say, sure in their investment. What we achieved with this project is 2 solar power plants that were installed on public buildings, around 50,000 euros that have been raised from citizens in 12 days through 2 campaigns. Cooperative and the city have received positive publicity, new partnerships, but also new projects. The city of 𝐏𝐲𝐿 is recognized as a leader in energy transition, not only in Croatia, but also on a European level. And also 𝐜𝐿𝐴 as citizens cooperative was established to continue this pathway. So it's not just about the money, it's also a social benefit and also further development. We are now developing a model for citizens investment in a much bigger power plant, 5 megawatts of power plant. So I hope we could also showcase you this project when it will be done. So I'm also very glad to be a part of the Prospect Plus, and I hope we will have a great time.
Thank you very much, Sanela. She's the newest addition to our mentors family, so it's really nice to have you here. 12 days to collect the money. I guess you would never get a grant. I guess you would never get a grant or a subsidy in such a short time.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Rogério, can you tell us how to pronounce your organization?
Hi, good morning. Portuguese, first of all, Portuguese is not an easy word. It's not an easy pronunciation, not even for Portuguese natives. So you were quite okay. The correct spelling and correct pronunciation would be Oeste Sustentável, but Oeste sustentável in 2 words, it's quite enough. And it's the regional, basically, it's the regional energy agency for environment for 12 municipalities in the Oeste region in Portugal, which is fairly 50 kilometers north from Lisbon and more or less 150 down from Porto in the coast. So Portugal is more or less like a rectangle, so it's hard to say where the west is, but this basically represents the most western coast of Portugal. So my name is Rogério Ivan. Ivan would be more easy to pronunciate, and I'm the executive director of this agency that has been established 12 years ago. So, and ever since its establishment, one of the main challenges was to tackle what were the street lighting and public lighting energy costs. And because the region is so vast, it's a vast territory, we have nearly 150,000 streetlight points. So the challenge was to begin with something, and because no financial scheme were applicable at the time, we had some public funds from European programs more or less 10 years ago that were being managed by the regional authorities in Portugal. But those funds wouldn't be enough to implement and to refurbish all the territory and all the streetlight points. So we decided upon an ESCO scheme, an EPC, contract scheme, and this was mainly because there was some legislation prepared in Portugal for that we could use. The legislation was actually more focused on buildings, but because we were the first intermunicipal project, so an agreement and association between 12 different municipalities, 12 different decisions, we had to adapt basically all the process of contracting and to submit it to the Court of Auditors in order to approve this public expenditure using these mechanisms. So basically, we were pioneering in doing this, and the implementation of the project was from in one side very positive because enabled a replication for some other regions in Portugal. I believe using the same principle and the same methodology we applied here, we could recognize like 3 or 4 different regions in Portugal, and probably considering a population of 2 million to 3 million inhabitants, which is roughly a 25% to 30% of what is the population in Portugal. So regarding the project itself, we were able, through this mechanism, to implement like nearly 70,000 streetlight points to replace them with LED technology. And therefore, with this project, had an investment like 12.5 million, which would be very difficult to make it possible with public funds. Also, we would have to consider like an international tendering and all the time and process consuming that it costs, and costs for staff as well, and a project that enable a public savings in energy costs like nearly 4 million at the contracting dating time. If we consider today's energy tariffs, probably we would reach 9 million in energy savings, and we have just replaced half of the streetlight pointing, half of the grid we had, and we still have the remaining streetlight points to replace, and we will probably use the same mechanism because it was very effective. We were able to implement all this process, not all the process, but all the streetlight lamps in 6 months. The process took around four years from the very beginning to prepare all the tendering documents and the tendering process. And in terms of energy savings, I could say that we were able to save energy that is quite enough to use in 1 year by a city of nearly 10,000 inhabitants, which is quite remarkable, I think. In terms of CO2 emissions, the project itself was able to reduce something like 8,000 to 9,000 tons a year, which gave a very positive and very valuable contribution to what are the targets of these municipalities, that most of them are signatories with the Covenant of Mayors. So they were also part of the sustainable energy action plans that are now being updated to the 2030 targets. So these were the main results, and we at the time we were assessing the very different financial mechanisms. Obviously, at the political side, they would prefer to use public funds and grants because they are more accessible, they are cheaper as well. But if we bear in mind that we have so much to do in this process of energy transition, these new challenges for the next years, and the implementation of all the action plans for energy and climate. If we want to achieve the targets, we cannot rely on just grants and public funds, and the mechanisms that are provided by the European Commission, which are have the objective to make it like a leverage. If we want to implement, we are fully aware that we have to get this private funding and third-party funding, and all the other instruments like crowdfunding. What's very impressive, other examples that we've seen as well, and the previous one from the colleague. And we would like to explore more of that. For example, for solar PV, for self-consumption, energy communities, and also other options to finance all the ideas and all the plans that we already have in our minds.
Thank you very much. It's very important what you said about the current energy crisis. I see that more and more public authorities, local authorities realize that because they waited with their energy efficiency and renewable energy projects to get better conditions, to get more subsidies, at the moment they are in a very difficult situation. And those who have already invested, they already see the benefits and they can sleep a little bit better at night nowadays. So it indicates that really there is too much risk, especially at the moment, to wait for only subsidies where there are so many different options available and so many institutions across Europe that you can learn from and copy and ask what worked, what didn't work. Before I pass on the virtual floor to my colleague Blandine, just maybe one quick follow-up question, but just one minute each. If I could ask Sanela and Vlasta, could you maybe very quickly comment on what were the main difficulties and what were the main lessons learned that you got from using this particular instrument, just very briefly. Vlasta, do you want to go first?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, thank you very much. So I will say that it is the most difficult was to collect good energy and financial data. So this is quite time consuming, and it's really, we have to take care. And we have to take care a lot of this legal and other issue depending on the country. But lessons learned, I would say, never give up, because it's always at the start, it looks like a big mess. There is nowhere anything you need. But when you go step by step, then on the end, you see that it was worth to trying. So I think this is the most important. Just don't give up at the first side when you see that there is a mess with the data, with the legislation. It always looks messier on the start. But when you go together, I think this is lesson learned.
Super, thank you very much. Sanela, would you like to share your quick feedback on the main challenges and the main difficulties, and then also on the benefits using crowdsourcing?
Yeah, we also had the problem with the public procurement, so how you can procure this type of service, because the power plant is in the ownership of the cooperative, not of the city, but the city is owner of the building and also the owner of the entrepreneurship center and public library. We had some issues there, and so they also paid the campaign, and then it was the question why they paid for the private company campaign, because the private company collected money. So I think that this is also questions why any other city did not use this model. So I think, yeah, that was the main challenge. For the benefits, like I said, it was not just energy savings and financial benefits. The city got new partnerships. The cooperative got some projects to scale up this model. So also citizens have their interest rate. So I think everyone is here on the win-win.
Super, thank you very much. I just want to double check if there are any representatives of our other mentors here. I think they were not able to join, but in case you did join, do raise your hand and let us know that you're here. I don't think so. Okay, so now let's learn from Blandine how you can join the project, how easy it is, but at the same time, how to give us enough information so we can make sure that we match you with the right institution so you benefit us as much as you can. Like I mentioned, you can start applying starting today, and we do encourage you to do it as soon as possible to give us time to really find you interesting projects you can learn from. Blandine, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sylvia. Hello, everyone. I am Blandine Pidou from Energy Cities, and in Prospect Plus, we are one of the partners, and we lead all the activities about the engagement process. I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it well? Okay, and you can hear me well too?
Everything
Perfect.
is great.
Thank you. So just to give again a global pictures of the different calls for applications that we will run in Prospect Plus. There will be a total of 4 learning cycles. The first one is already almost finished. We are going to start the second learning cycle in November this year. And there will be two other learning cycles in 2023 and 2024. So just to tell you that in case you are not ready to join now, or if you want to take your time, or even if you want to apply to different learning cycles, it's also possible, and you will have these other opportunities in the future. For this second learning cycle, so the mentors were already recruited in June, July. And as you know, we are opening today the call for applications for mentees, and it will be accessible online until the end of the month of September. I would like also to inform you here about, for this learning cycle, we will have also special calls open for mentees who would like to join local groups in Czech Republic and in Bosnia and Herzegovina. These calls will open in 1 week, around mid-September. And as it was already, as Sylvia described it before, this is another type of methodology that we have in Prospect Plus. Local groups are meant for participants who maybe couldn't join a more European group because of language barriers, for instance. And in these local groups, so you have all the participants, all the mentees in the same country, with one mentor that can be in the same country or from another one. And the advantage is that people can work together in their own local language. For these local groups, the mentors are already identified. It will be in Czech Republic 𝐿𝐴𝐺 that you met before. And the topic will be on energy communities. And in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the mentor will be Energap that you met also. And the topic will be on energy performance contracting. Who can apply? So our capacity building program is open to local authorities or regional authorities in Europe. the participants themselves, they have to be either staff members of regional or local authorities or energy and climate agencies, or it can be also staff members of other local agencies, depending on the public authority. And also some external consultants are eligible to apply. One very important thing that is highlighted in the orange box here is that you have to be aware that all applicants are asked to provide a letter of support from the organization they will represent. So you cannot submit the application form if you don't join a letter of support together with your application form. A template letter is available, so you just have to copy paste it, make it signed by an elected representative, and then attach it to the application form. It's quite easy. We have 44 eligible countries to our program, so it's EU 27 and the United Kingdom, and 16 other associated countries to Horizon 2020. So quite open. How to apply? So everything, all information and resources for the application process is available on the project website. Under the learning program section here, you have an entrance to go to the Get Involved page that you can see here below. So all information is there and is updated on this page. So here you find the information on the calls, opening dates and deadlines, the links to the application forms. So the one for the call for mentees is now open on this page. In a few days, we will open the other forms for the local groups in Czech Republic and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And you find also here all the useful documentation and materials like the guidelines for applicants. Yes, and many other useful resources to apply, to be well prepared to submit your application. When you will be in the application form, so it's a form on 𝐿Survey that you can put in pause and then you can come back to it. You can also download a PDF of the form so that you take time maybe to also look at it with other colleagues in other departments. And really, you can take your time to prepare it. How you will be able to choose one of the learning schemes and one of our mentors. Here it's a screenshot of the application form. So we listed all the possible combination of thematic areas and financing schemes that are open for mentoring in this second learning cycle, sorry. And you can see which mentor you can possibly be matched with if you apply to this group, let's say. We ask mentees to choose a maximum of 2 options. So your first choice, the one you would prefer according to your local projects, and a second choice. You can only choose one, but of course, if you indicate 2, it will be easier for us then for the project team to match you with a possible mentor. Once you've ticked 2 boxes in this list, some further questions will open, and there we will ask you to describe further either the project you have related to this financing scheme on thematic area, or whether your learning needs. And here, really, we ask you again to really take care of describing the best possible what you plan to do or what you started to do, what are your ongoing projects, because the more more information we have, and then the easiest it is for us to make sure we match you with the right, with the best mentor for you. Yes, here I've highlighted some of our selection criteria and matching criteria. All this is further detailed and explained in the guidelines for applicants, accessible on the Get Involved page of the website. So how will we select applications? So it's a work done by the Prospectus team. We look, of course, quite obviously to the overall quality of the application. If some applications are not completed or not written in English or things like that, you know, it will be very difficult to select them and to evaluate them. It's important that you clearly identify and describe your challenges, your learning needs in innovative financing, and your eventual local projects, either, I mean, even if they are at the ideation stage or if you've really started to implement them or to develop them. We look also at your motivation to acquire new knowledge, and to your ability to share this knowledge with other colleagues within your organization, because we want all this knowledge to spread widely. The matching criteria, so also quite obviously we match people, so mentees and mentors who are on the same thematic area. If you want to apply to transport project and mentoring, we will not match you in a group on public building. We, of course, also match people according to the financing scheme, the innovative financing they want to learn about. Then we try to look a bit deeper into the common challenges, so between the mentor and the mentees, so that experience is really, from the mentors, is really helpful to the mentee. We try to consider also the type of organization. If you come from an energy agency, maybe we will rather match you with an energy agency, or if you come from a municipality, then we will match you with another municipality, so that also you have a more common context to exchange about. We take care also, of course, of the population size whenever possible. All that depends also on the number of applications we receive, and also, if possible, as much as possible, we try to take care about having a gender balanced group. So that's it for me. Again, you can find all this information in the material published on the Get Involved page, and you can always contact us should you need any further clarification on your application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Blandine. I can already see one question regarding the letter of support in case of energy agencies and not public authorities. Could you elaborate on that? Could you just mention what type of letter of support is needed to confirm that it's basically just... Exactly.
Yes. So in this case, the letter of support can be signed by the director of the agency.
Thank you.
Because
it is the idea.
It is mentioned on the top of the letter of support. Yeah.
So we have a template. It's more or less the same whether you ask your mayor to sign it or whether you ask your CEO to sign it, CEO or director to sign it. The main objective for us is to make sure that the organization itself can benefit from this learning experience. Although we understand that there is a lot of added value also on the individual level, it's really our ambition to make sure that the organization has the additional skills and that you are also able to share what you learn with your colleagues, so that the future projects the organization will be implementing can be a bit less dependent on the most well-known calls subsidies, for example. Right, thank you very much, Blandine. Are there any questions to Blandine at the moment as regards the application process? Pauline, can we put on this short survey, short poll, just to check how many of you, because we have so many people, different people in the room today, representing many different organizations, public authorities, but also consultants and think tanks and NGOs. So we are curious how many of you are considering to apply in this current application process. Will be very useful for us if you can click the final clicking stage. For those that would be potentially interested but haven't decided yet, we do invite you to check out our website. You already have the links in the chat, but also you'll get the materials maybe still today or tomorrow. Do check the application form because it's not scary. It's not very difficult to fill in. It doesn't take a long time, especially if you really understand your city's, your organization's needs and plans in terms of sustainable energy investments. It shouldn't take you too much time to apply. So don't be discouraged by the 3 weeks that we foresee for collecting applications.
Maybe a further comment from my side, because I can see there is in the poll there is a question about applying as a mentor. So for the moment, the call for mentor for LC2, Learning Cycle 2, was closed. But of course, we will recruit again new mentors for the next learning cycle. So you can always apply to become a Prospect Plus mentor. And we have also on the Get Involved page a form for expression of interest, where between 2 calls for applications, you are warmly invited. If you are interested in our activities, you are warmly invited also to leave there your contacts and tell us a bit about your projects, and so then we can come back to you. You will be personally informed when new calls open. Yes, so I encourage all of you to also to share this info within your networks.
So if you miss the deadlines for whatever reasons, you can still fill in a shorter form, expression of interest, and then we will know what will be the interest. We can prepare better, and we will directly let you know then whenever there is a new opportunity to join. You will also find it on the same website where we list all the information about how to join. Good, thank you very much. I don't see any more questions in the chat, so we still have a little bit of time as we planned for questions and answers to everyone who's here today, who has presented. So if you would have any other questions to Blandine, if you have any questions to Pierluca and to DG Energy and to our mentors, both the more experienced ones who have already worked with their groups in this first cycle and the new ones, please write your messages your questions in the chat, but also please go ahead to raise your virtual hand, and Pauline will make sure that you can show yourself and ask the question in a traditional way. And it would be great if you do. It will be great to hear from you. Is everything clear on the policy side, on the extent of the challenge that the European Commission and the member states are preparing and facing at the moment, and the consequences for public authorities, both on the regional and local level, that would be important for you when you are now deciding whether you need to use this opportunity to learn about innovative financing options as soon as possible? Are there any questions about that, about what's in the plans and how it will affect you?
Sylvia, I monitored a few questions earlier during your presentation, so maybe we can go through them. There were actually two different questions from Sarah. So she was asking, within your thematic areas, are the finance investments solely about mitigation? It seems much harder to get finance for adaptation. Will this be future focus?
Blandine, would you like to take that? Because it relates to the selection criteria and eligibility.
I don't know if I'm the best place to answer about that. I think that some, I would say that learning about some adaptation projects on financing maybe can fit into the cross-sectoral, but I mean, it's not excluded. But for the moment, I would say we don't have any mentor currently proposing mentoring on adaptation solutions. So, but I think that if any mentor would apply for that with a good project on how to finance some adaptation measures, it totally can fit the program. So
yeah, and remember
if you know any potential good mentor on that, you can send them all this information and invite them to apply.
And when it regards mitigation versus adaptation, or mitigation and adaptation, remember that we are focusing on the very broad topic of sustainable energy. And obviously there are very different, many different types of investments, of projects that are linked to sustainable energy. Often it would be improving energy efficiency. And of course, we know that, especially now, we can see that improving energy efficiency is not the environmental and climate related benefit or need, but it's also very much about the security and also financial, reducing the financial risks of the changing situation. So remember about that. When it comes to energy efficiency, you can also, for example, think about green roofs as a way of thermo insulating buildings. And on the other hand, this also has the additional benefit of water retention, of improving biodiversity. So in this sense, if there are some investments related to both such investment and energy adaptation, then yes, that would be eligible. So do think very broadly about what we cover. It has to be focused on sustainable energy, obviously, but when you also look at the handbooks that we have available on the website, you can go through them quickly. You can look at the projects that we have included in the database. Have a look for inspiration, what kind of measures they introduced and tested. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. Actually, there is another question in the chat from Sarah, and it's nice to see that they are interested for our webinars. She was asking if by any chance we would be doing some webinars on the different funding mechanism before they potentially join as a mentor or the mentee. So I don't know if it's in the plan.
It's great you are asking about it, because it is also our hope and ambition that when you are joining, you already more or less know what could work in your region. There might be some differences between countries because of regulation, because of some different contexts. So it's great that you do some initial research just to make sure that the thing you will learn about is easily transferable to your country. If it's not, and you just need to broaden your horizons, that generally also acceptable, although we would like to make sure that we do trigger some new projects and we do have impact through this learning experience. If you are asking about learning about this innovative financing options, then we have the information on the website. There is a recording of a webinar done by our colleagues from Adelphi, who I think are here as well, where Caroline talked in more detail about the different options, so you can get an overview. We will probably probably share, or we have already shared another such session she has recorded. So I do encourage you to have a look at that. If you are asking about funding, because there is a difference between financing and funding, let's remember that funding usually refers to those public funds, and financing usually refers to non-public funds and attracting investors, etc., or finding some other way of mobilizing resources. If you are referring to the funding, we are not focusing on that, but we can consider it during some of the events of the community of practice we are planning. So to discuss the differences, let's say the advantages and disadvantages, and how this could be also combined. But as a principle, we want to promote other than subsidies options. So when there are not enough or not sufficient subsidies, you are still able to kickstart your projects, finding money elsewhere.
Thank you, Sylvia. I have two other questions in the chat for you. So Piotr was asking, just to be sure, is there any cost for local government when an employee will take part in project as a mentee?
In principle, the whole experience is free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. We also cover the cost of study visits up to 500 euros, which means that depending where you would travel, depending how quickly you book your flight, it might cover all of the costs, minus some food expenses or local transport like buses, but generally most of the cost. It might happen that if you have to travel very far and the rates are very, very high, you have to stay an extra night, etc., it might mean that you would have to contribute something. But we are able to cover 500 euros, and for some it's enough, for some you need to have a backup. And it might be, sometimes we have seen that our mentees preferred to pay by themselves. Sometimes it would be their organizations that would cover the cost and that can then get reimbursed. So here we can be quite flexible, but yes, you would be expected when you are invited to join as a mentee, you would be expected to stay and participate in all of the online meetings, not many, just 4 online meetings, and the whole study visit, which lasts a day and a half. So in case you would not be able to do that, don't block the spot for others who could benefit.
Thank you, Sylvia. Sarah is also thanking you for your great replies. Further questions? So Vera is asking, will the staff of the municipality involved in the program for mentee, or only the applicant will be called and financed?
I don't fully understand the question.
So Vera, if it wasn't so clear, would you mind taking over? I think basically, yeah, she was asking if it would be only, you know, the mentee of the municipality who will be involved, or like more colleagues, I guess. Am I right, Sarah?
Actually, I've answered
ahead.
in the chat already to Vera. I don't know if you can see the answer. So
okay, sorry, maybe I missed that part. So perfect.
No worries. No worries. So actually, in all online meetings, of course, we encourage more people to attend, so that the exchanges are richer and there are more, you know, knowledge exchange and so on. And also the exchanges benefit to more people. That's what we seek. But the only, let's say, restriction is about the physical meeting. The project reimburses only participation of one of the applicants. But someone else from the municipality can join also, but at their own cost.
Perfect. Thanks,
I don't know,
Lanti.
Vera, if it answers your question.
And we've had those examples in the first learning cycle. We've had some examples where the official mentee brought a colleague. They decided that it was really worth paying for this extra expense, but having more people see and spend this time together with the mentor and the other mentees. We have also seen that some people were joining online. There is no problem about that. You will receive materials, that the presentations that you can share with your colleagues as well. And we very much invite you to do that. It would be great if we are actually able to reach more people in your organization.
Thank you, Blandine and Sylvia. So I guess, Maxime, that also replies to your question. If not, don't hesitate to open your mic. So far, I don't see any further questions in the chat, but I don't know if anyone would like to unmute and ask questions directly to Pierluca, Blandine, or Sylvia, or any of the mentors who are here with us today.
Contact us through the website. There is a contact us section on the website in case you have any questions. We will send you all the materials from this webinar to the email address you provided during registration, so you can also get back to us with some additional questions. And another thing that I would recommend you to have a look at, because it's also very interesting, is to see the description of the learning program, which is also there under reports on our website, and you can see the action plan, because the groups, mentors and mentees work together on one action plan, which puts together the information they share, and then they can think about how the given solution is transferable in their countries, what might be some differences to pay attention to in terms of the regulation, for example, that might be a little bit different. So we also want you to leave the project with this document that you can share with your colleagues. And just final thing, once you do join and you do get very interested in the topic, we will also invite you to apply to become innovative financing ambassadors. And that means that with a little bit of our support, you can invite a few external contacts in your countries, public organizations in your countries, and to share what you have learned through a series of meetings or one meeting involving a few participants, and then we will promote you as a committed innovative financing ambassador. And those of you who are able to suggest the most interesting format and attract most partners in your countries could also join an additional study visit, a second study visit of your choice, as a kind of both benefit and additional support to let you understand the topic in more detail. Right, thank you very much. If there aren't any more questions, or maybe some additional closing remarks from my colleagues who have presented today, anything anyone else would like to mention? Good, so we managed to finish exactly on time, which is quite rare with me moderating. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing all of you either online or hopefully live as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.